إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد. Brothers and sisters in Islam, as you all know, we are coming upon the month of Ramadan. And the closer we get to Ramadan, it is important for us to examine the characteristics and the qualities of the people who have Taqwa, the Mutaqeen. It is not as important that we look at the do's and don'ts of Ramadan. Most of the Muslims know this. You know that you're not supposed to eat and drink and that you refrain from relations with your wife from the time of the Adhan of Fajr until Maghrib and all of these things that we understand. The objective of Ramadan is what? The objective of Ramadan is to attain taqwa. It's not just that you refrain from food and drink and that you starve all day and that you remember all of the poor people who can't eat. That is one of the wisdoms, if you will, of Ramadan, that we understand those things. But that is not the objective of Ramadan. That is not why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed for us a month of fasting. He prescribed a month of fasting so that we become more conscious of Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that we grow and develop taqwa. That we are God-fearing. That we are more aware of Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the reason why fasting was prescribed. So because of that, it is important for us to look at what exactly are the characteristics of the people who have taqwa. Meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He has explained to us that the Mutaqeen are those who do A, B, C, D. These are the Mutaqeen. If we don't have those qualities, then we are not from the Mutaqeen, and it's really that simple. And so we have to set attaining those qualities as a goal that we achieve in the month of Ramadan, and we need to start setting those goals now. The same way that many people know where they're going to break their fast, they have an iftar schedule and these type of things from Sha'ban. You need to have the same kind of diligence in setting your goals for the month of Ramadan. That is to attain certain characteristics. And so there are several places in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes for us the characteristics of the Muttaqeen. And one such ayah or passage in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ أُعِدَّتْ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to race, to hasten towards the forgiveness of your Lord, and a garden whose width is that of the heavens and the earth. And some of the scholars used to say, woe to the one who doesn't find a place in a Jannah that is that expensive. The earth and the heavens put together make the width of Jannah. أُعِدَّتْ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. It has been prepared for those who have taqwa. And who are they? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes on to say, الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ فِي السَّرَّاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. So he mentions three things here about the people of taqwa. They are those who spend at times of prosperity and adversity. Even when things are tight, they still give for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when they have, they give more. This is a quality of the people of taqwa. If you do not give sadaqah, if you do not give charity, if you don't spend fi sabilillah, you cannot be from the Mutaqeen. It's impossible. The second thing, وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ. Those who repress their anger. You hear about anger management, for example. Those who even when they get angry, they are able to control themselves. They don't act out on their anger. This is a quality of the Mutaqeen. If every time you get angry, you have an outburst, you hurt someone, you hit someone, you insult someone, you can't be from the Mutaqeen. And you will not achieve the objective for which Ramadan was prescribed. The fasting of Ramadan was prescribed. And then the third quality, and this is what we're going to talk about today, inshallah ta'ala. And perhaps it is the best of those qualities. وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ. Those who pardon the people. What does that mean, to pardon people? It means you don't seek retribution. It means somebody has wronged you, and you let it go. You don't seek to meet, their oppression of you and their wrong of you with an opposite wrong. Now, that does not mean, and we'll talk about this a little later, inshallah ta'ala. It doesn't mean that you don't have the right to respond. Nor does it mean that you turn the other cheek. We don't have that concept in Islam. But it does mean that you let it go. That you forgive them for what they have done. That you excuse the wrong that they have done to you. And if you can't get to that level, then you can't have taqwa. You are not going to be ta'ala and believe that you should get all of your rights in this life from everyone who has done you wrong. You can't. And so somebody might ask, well, what is the relationship then between taqwa and pardoning people? How are they related? How is my piety and my consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala related to my ability and my desire to overlook people's faults and the wrongs that they have done to me? To understand that, we have to look at the opposite. Why don't people forgive other people? Once we understand the answer to that question, then we'll understand the relationship in that time. The reason why many people do not forgive others is because they believe that they will look weak in front of the people. If I forgive him, the people are going to think that I am weak. My community is going to blame me for being soft. People on the internet are going to talk about me because I don't respond. And so because of that, a person now responds. They are propelled by what people think about them, not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to judge them for. And so their behavior is being controlled actually by people and not by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we can see the connection there between al-afu, which is the pardon, and between taqwa, having true consciousness of who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is and being aware of him. But if we are, and this is why our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam made it very clear to us that this is not the case. And the famous hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, مَا نَقَصَتْ صَدَقَةٌ مِّن مَّا. Just follow this hadith, inshallah. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that wealth is not decreased by sadaqah. When you give in charity, your wealth doesn't decrease. Somebody might say, wait a minute, I have $100 in my pocket. If I give 40 away to the masjid, that's going to be 60 left in my pocket. That means I have less. So my wealth decreased. But the reality is is that here, when you're doing charity, you're doing business with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so by giving your charity, yeah, you may only have 60 left in your pocket, but you deposited 40 for the hereafter. And when you deposit in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's bank, and that bank of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you deposit for your hereafter, Allah Azza wa Jal rewards you 10 times over, 50 times over, 100 times over, up to 700 times, wa ma sha Allah, and whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills. So you're not losing anything when you give sadaqah. Look, this hadith is deep, because the Prophet ﷺ is informing us that things are not always as they seem. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, وَمَا زَادَ اللَّهُ عَبْدًا بِعَفْوٍ إِلَّا عِزًّا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases his servant in honor and in might and strength when he pardons someone. Now the way we look at it is, he's weak, that's why he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything because he couldn't do anything. No. He wanted that reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَنْ عَفَى وَأَصْلَحَ فَأَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Whoever forgives and reconciles, makes things right, he fixes those things, his reward is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he is looking for that reward with Allah Azza wa Jalla, and Allah will raise him because of that, even if he thinks that the people are going to look at him as being soft, look at him as being weak. He no longer cares the way that the people are looking at him. And Allah Azza wa Jalla promised that he's going to raise him in honor. And so eventually his honor is going to be known even amongst the people. And then the Prophet ﷺ says, وَمَا تَوَاضَعَ أَحَدٌ لِلَّهِ إِلَّا رَفَعَهُ. And no one humbles himself for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except that Allah Azza wa Jalla raises him. And so when we think about this hadith, we understand that connection between taqwa and pardon. The person who pardons someone is not going to get a reward from that person. They're not going to get their rights back from that person. But they don't want their rights back, and they don't want their reward from that miskin person. That person has nothing to offer him anyway. They want their reward from Al-Kareem, subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the one who is generous, Jalla Jalal. And so they forgive. The other point, and not to belabor the issue, is that the other reason why people tend not to forgive others and not to pardon them is because they are being self-serving. So even if it's not about the people, they have something in them that says, I got to get him back. I need revenge. And they hold that grudge in their chest until they get them back. But the Prophet ﷺ did not take revenge. As Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha narrated, the Prophet ﷺ never took revenge for himself. Ever. Only when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's limits had been violated and transgressed, did the Prophet ﷺ take revenge for Allah's sake, not for his own sake. We know that that man grabbed the Prophet ﷺ by his throat, his burda, the top garment that he was wearing, to the point that it left a mark on the neck of the Prophet ﷺ. He said, give me from the money that Allah has given you. And he laughed, and he told him to give him some money. I mean, there's so many examples from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and from the stories of the Anbiya in general, where they forgave people, where they overlooked the wrong that had been done to them. And so it's very important that we, as we strive towards taqwa, that we take ourselves out of the equation. That we be servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not servants of ourselves. What happens when you want revenge is that you are trying to fulfill some desire that you have inside of yourself. And that equation is very clear. The more that you serve yourself, the less you will be serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the more you serve Allah Azza wa Jal, the less that your nafs and your ego means to you. Because you're a true servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want you all to imagine right now that you are somebody who has a very prominent position in your community, in your profession, whatever it is that you do. And that your spouse has been accused of adultery. That someone told you that your wife is a zania. Somebody told you that your husband was out there with some other woman. This is the accusation. And quite frankly, you can't account for their whereabouts at that particular time that they were accused of adultery. Now, you as a prominent person in the community, imagine now it's spreading. So-and-so's wife, so-and-so's husband has committed adultery. Imagine how you feel. What does that do to the household? What does it do to the trust that is between the two spouses? For one of them to have been accused of adultery. Apparently there's even some evidence. Imagine what that does to the family structure. Now, that being the case, think about the story of our mother, Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, who was accused of that very thing. Who was accused of having committed adultery while she was married to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Imagine what that did to the household. We don't have to imagine. We have the story. Imagine how her father, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, imagine how he felt about the people who accused his daughter of doing such an act, even though he raised her to be chaste and pure. And he knows that this is not something that she would ever do because of her fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He knows that. So he knows that the people who are accusing her are lying. Now let's go even a step further. One of the people who was out there spreading that rumor about Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha was Abu Bakr's own cousin, Mistah ibn Uthatha. It was his cousin. Your family member now is accusing your daughter, the mother of the believers, of committing adultery. Let's go a step further. Mistah was broke. He was poor. And the only person who used to take care of him was Abu Bakr as-Siddiq himself. He was the one who spent on him so that he could survive, so that he could have his sustenance. And after all that good that was done to him, he went back now. I mean, just think about it. This is your friend. This is your cousin. You take care of him, and then he accuses your daughter of committing adultery, and it's a lie. And so he swore to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he would never spend anything else on Mistah. After the situation was settled, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed those verses which will be recited until Yawm al-Qiyamah, declaring Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha innocent of what she had been accused of, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا يَأْتَلِ أُولُو الْفَضْلِ مِنْكُمْ وَالسَّعَةِ وَلَا يَأْتَلِ أُولُو الْفَضْلِ مِنْكُمْ وَالسَّعَةِ أَنْ يُؤْتُوا أُولِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى أُولِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْمَسَاكِينَ وَالْمُهَاجِرِينَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, those who have been given wealth and bounty and plenty from Allah should not swear that they won't give, that they will no longer give to their kinsmen, their relatives, and the poor, and those who made hijrah fi sabilillah. Mistah, even though he got caught up in that, he was from the muhajirin. But what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? وَلْيَعْفُوا وَلْيَصْفَحُوا. Let them pardon them. Let them overlook that. And yasfah. Pardon and overlook. أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَنْ يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. Would you not, don't you love that Allah forgive you? Wallahu ghafur rahim. And Allah is al-Ghafur. He is the most forgiving and the most merciful. When that verse was revealed, Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala anhu said, as it comes Sahih Bukhari, Bala wallahi ya Rabbana. Certainly, wallahi by Allah, my Lord, inna lanuhibbu an taghfir lana. We love that you should forgive us. And Abu Bakr went back to spending on this man who accused his daughter, the mother of the believers, He went back to spending on him and treating him the same way that he did before the accusation happened. He let it go. He forgave him. He pardoned him. So no matter what you're dealing with in life, someone accused you of something. Someone took your property unjustly. Someone is insulting you on social media. Someone is violating your rights. Someone overcharged you for something. Whatever the case may be, in general, we are not dealing with a situation that is anywhere similar to what happened to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and his daughter Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anhum wa sahabati ajma'in. We're not dealing with anything like that. So if we want to be from the Mutaqeen and we want to attain the real reward that is coming up in the month of Ramadan, we have to get over ourselves. The bottom line, we have to stop tripping over our own egos. We have to put that to the side and become true servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and true muttaqeen. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Aqulu qawli hadha wa astaghfirullah li wa lakum fastaghfiruhu innahu huwal ghafurur rahim. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الذي اصطفى وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. أما بعد, there's just some important points, perhaps some misconceptions, and other important points that we need to talk about in conclusion of this khutbah, inshallah ta'ala. The first of those points is for you, Ya Abdullah, to beware if you have wronged someone. If you have wronged someone, you need to go fix that. You need to go reconcile. Don't start going around to people that you have wronged and you start reciting them verses about afu, pardoning and forgiving, and you should forgive me for what I did. No, you need to fix that situation. If they don't forgive you, that's their right not to forgive you. You can't go now and try to make them feel bad because you did something wrong. And that's what a lot of people do. Every time they hear something in a khutbah, it's always about somebody else. It's not about them. How they can use this ayah so that they can, finagle their way into somebody else's rights. And so it's important that you understand that you don't take these ayats and now try to go tell someone else to forgive and to pardon after you've done something wrong. Fix whatever it is that you have done wrong and try to do that as soon as possible, because you don't know when the day is going to come when fixing the wrong is not going to be about asking someone to forgive you. It's not going to be about dollars and cents. On that day, it's only good deeds and bad deeds. That's the commodity of the hereafter. The second point is that not everyone deserves to be pardoned. If by pardoning them, they are going to continue in their transgression, by pardoning them, they're going to do to other people what they did to you, then pardoning them is not legislative. You need to stop that person to the best of your ability. If they need to be arrested, so be it. If they need to be exposed, so be it. Because if you forgiving them only allows them to continue, then this is not considered to be from the pardoning that is legislative. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَمَنْ عَفَى وَأَصْلَحَ فَأَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Whoever pardons and rectifies the situation, then his reward is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many of the scholars of tafsir have said that this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made al-afu, pardoning, conditional upon islah. That you're forgiving someone, that you're pardoning them, is conditional that will bring about rectification. And if it does not, meaning that this person is going to continue in their criminal behavior, then it is not legislated that you forgive them and that you pardon them. You should hold them to the fullest extent of the law, as they say, and that you should hold them to account for the wrong that they have done. The third thing, next to last, is that pardoning is only pardoning when you can do something about it. Some people say, oh, no, I let it go. But then they still talk about it all the time. So-and-so did this to me, so-and-so, but I let it go for Allah. No, you didn't let it go because you're still talking about it. And if you really let it go, and it was really for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you remain silent. There's nothing else to talk about. Otherwise, you may be falling into something greater, which is that you want to be praised, you want to be looked at as being someone who pardons people, you want to be looked at as having the qualities of the people of Taqwa, when in reality, you just simply couldn't do anything about it. That's not considered to be al-afu. The last thing that I want to mention, inshallah ta'ala, and it's directly related to Ramadan, and it shows us the importance of al-afu, is that Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha went to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and she asked him about the greatest night of the year. That night is in Ramadan. That night is Laylatul Qadr. She said, "Oh, Messenger of Allah, if I know what night Laylatul Qadr is, what should I say?" And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Say, Allahumma innaka afuwun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni." Oh Allah, you are al-afu. You are the pardoner. You're the one who pardons. You love pardoning. And because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves pardoning, that's why we should be pardoning. You love pardoning, fa'fu anni. So pardon me. Mind you, Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha is the most beloved person to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam in this dunya. She is asking about the most important night of the year. And the Prophet ﷺ is ansahu al-khalqi lil-khalq. He is the one who is most sincere and true to all of the people. If there was something better to ask for than al-afu, the Prophet ﷺ would have definitely informed Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha of that. And that is why Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah ta'ala said that the best and most virtuous quality of a believer is al-afu. We have to learn how to forgive. We have to learn how to get ourselves out of the way, because if we keep serving our egos, we will not be serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we will not be from amongst the Mutaqeen. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from amongst the Mutaqeen. رَبَّنَا لَا تُزِغْ قُلُوبَنَا بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَيْتَنَا وَهَبْ لَنَا مِن لَّدُنكَ رَحْمَةً إِنَّكَ أَنتَ الْوَهَّابُ رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ